Uh, well, you know. When people think of Vikings, they imagine raiders burning villages and stealing gold. But raids were not the whole story. They were a shortcut. Behind the violence was something far more dangerous to medieval Europe, a decentralized, flexible economy that did not need king's coins or borders. Vikings did not trust money. They did not trust banks. They did not even trust states. And somehow, that made them richer, faster, and harder to control than entire empires. This was the true source of their power, a revolutionary idea that moved with them on every longship that cut through the cold gray seas, threatening not just the lives of coastal monks, but the very foundations of centralized power across the known world. This is the real idea. The Vikings were not primitive. They built an economy that moved with them. It worked across rivers and seas. It worked with many peoples. It was made for change and danger. The parts of this system all pointed the same way: mobility, adaptability, and survival over stability. Coins only work when people trust rulers. A coin tells you who made it. It links value to a king or a state. This works in a stable place. It fails when many peoples meet. Vikings sailed between Christian Europe, the Islamic world, the Byzantine Empire. No single coin could work in all those places. A Frankish dinar meant little in the markets of Baghdad. An Islamic dirham was foreign currency in a Norse settlement. The symbols of power gave coins local value. Those symbols limited their use on the global stage. They saw this limitation and stepped around it. So Vikings used hack silver. Hack silver was cut up silver. It was arm rings, necklaces, foreign coins chopped into pieces. Value came from weight and purity, not from a picture on a coin. One trader could snip a piece from a beautiful silver bracelet to pay for a meal. Another could melt down a handful of chopped English pennies, Arab dirhams, to forge a new arm ring. Measuring with small, portable scales was the rule of every transaction. This made trade simple and direct across borders. People did not ask where a coin came from or which king guaranteed it. They asked only two questions. How heavy is the silver? How pure is it? Hack silver removed politics from trade. Because they operated in a world without central regulation, Vikings had to develop their own methods to test silver. They started from a position of healthy skepticism, assuming others might always try to cheat them. Trust was not automatic. It had to be verified at every turn. The most basic tool was a set of small, often collapsible balance scales, which they used to meticulously weigh every piece of silver. These scales are found in Viking graves across Europe. A deal was not done until the weight was agreed upon by both parties. Beyond weighing, they employed more invasive techniques. They would nick or cut a piece of silver to see what lay beneath the surface. A common scam was to coat a cheap base metal with a thin layer of silver. Copper lead, a small cut with a knife, would instantly reveal the fraud, showing the reddish or gray metal underneath. This practice, known as pecking, left small marks on countless coins found in Viking hoards. It was a physical record of suspicion, a mark of verification that proved the silver had been checked. Each peck mark was a silent testament to a world where you trusted only what you could test yourself. They also used their other senses. A skilled trader could tap a piece of metal and listen carefully to the sound it made. Pure silver has a distinct, clear ring. Leaded metals produce a dull thud. Plated metals produce a dull thud. This was a quick, non-destructive way to assess a whole batch of silver items. They even bit the metal. Pure silver is relatively soft and malleable, so a strong bite would leave a noticeable indentation. Silver that was merely plated, or an alloy with harder metals, would crack, resist the pressure, or feel wrong against the teeth. Another defining feature of the Viking economy was its profound secrecy. Vikings did not, as a rule, show off their wealth in the way a medieval European lord might. For a nobleman in a castle, displaying gold plate, fine tapestries, expensive jewelry was a performance of power. It told everyone that he was in charge and secure in his position. For a Viking, such a display was an open invitation to disaster. It made you a target. Robbery from neighbors, raids from rivals, extortion from a powerful chieftain. Social pressure could also force a wealthy individual to share their riches with the community. So, the smartest thing to do with wealth was to hide it. Archaeologists regularly unearth astonishing hoards of silver buried under the floors of longhouses, hidden in open fields, or deliberately sunk in bogs and marshes. These hoards, containing thousands of coins, pieces of hack silver, and jewelry, were not savings accounts in the modern sense. They were emergency reserves, personal vaults buried in the earth. In an era without banks, police forces, or secure legal title to property, a hole in the ground was the safest place to keep your life savings. We must be clear and direct about a dark and unavoidable truth. Slavery was a central engine of the Viking economy. While we imagine ships filled with gold and silver, the most valuable cargo was often human. People, not just precious metals, were the main source of profit that fueled the Viking Age. Men were taken in raids to be sold as laborers on farms or for heavy construction. Women were especially valuable, taken for domestic work in households for their skills in weaving textiles and as forced concubines. Children, too, were captured, sometimes raised within a Norse household and sometimes sold on in the vast slave markets of the East. The great river routes of Eastern Europe, the Dnieper, the Volga, became highways for this brutal trade. Viking traders, known as the Rus, established a network that moved captives from the Slavic lands, Scandinavia, the British Isles southward. They transported people in their longships along these rivers to fortified trading posts and then on to the great markets of the Byzantine Empire, the Islamic caliphates. In Constantinople and Baghdad, these captives, known as sakaliba in Arabic texts, were sold for immense profits. The silver dirhams that fill so many Viking hoards were the direct payment for this human traffic. This exchange was the economic bedrock of Viking expansion. The silver acquired from selling people was not just for hoarding, it was active capital. Although their reputation is built on lightning raids, trade often mattered more to the Vikings than plunder. They were masters of logistics. Rivers were the true highways in an age of terrible roads. Ships that could handle open seas and shallow waterways were game-changing. The Viking longship unlocked a vast, interconnected network. It let them reach new markets quickly and efficiently, bypassing the friction of land travel. They aimed to control arteries of commerce rather than hold vast lands. So they favored temporary trading hubs over permanent, defended cities. Seasonal camps appeared at key river points. A quiet riverbank would become a bustling market town for weeks or months. Tents and stalls hosted traders from Scandinavia, the Slavic lands, the Far East. They traded furs, amber walrus ivory for silver silk spices. When seasons or opportunities shifted, they would pack up goods, take down tents, and move on. This pop-up commerce model made them incredibly flexible. By contrast, medieval states like Charlemagne's relied on holding territory, complex bureaucracy, and defending fixed borders. Now, it is time to tie all of these threads together. The Viking economic system was not a random collection of habits. It was a coherent and deeply integrated machine for generating wealth in a world of constant crisis. Each part fit with the others, reinforcing the core principles of mobility and resilience. Hack silver was portable value, a universal currency that worked just as well in a Dublin market as it did on the banks of the Volga. It freed them from the whims of kings and the fate of any single kingdom, making their wealth truly their own and easily transportable across any border. The habit of testing silver was the software that ran on this hardware. It was a decentralized system of fraud detection that cut out the need for a trusted third party like a bank or a state regulator. Hidden wealth, buried in thousands of hoards, was their strategy for risk management. It was a form of self-insurance against the violence and instability they knew was inevitable. The Vikings were not wealthy because they raided. They raided because their economy allowed it. They built a system that did not need kings, borders, or trust. It worked anywhere with anyone under any conditions. Empires were built on stability and central control. The Vikings thrived on the exact opposite. A world of movement, personal verification, distributed, hidden assets. The raiders were frightening,